Hey everyone, welcome to Dreadnought Mondays. Thanks for taking the time to tune in via YouTube or Audible, whatever you're listening to this on. Today we are joined by Matthew Ebel. Matthew, thank you for taking the time to be here. Appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind, take a minute to introduce yourself, tell us who you are, what you do, and what you're about.
Well, I mean, how much time do you got? Because I can talk forever. Well, thank you. Seriously, thank you for having me on the show. As Kenny mentioned, my name is Matthew Ebel, and I am also known as Avian Invasion. I make progressive house music. For those that don't know what that is, I basically make thumping noises that people can dance to. That's largely what I do. I have been a musician my entire life. Starting out in Christian pop. We don't talk about that. Going into piano rock. I worked the Nashville country scene for a while, and just in the last few years now, I've been reborn, rebuilt, stronger, faster, and thumpier in the form of a dance music artist. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to know, other than the fact that I am completely and totally enamored with birds to the point where I masquerade as half man, half robot, half bird when I perform. And yes, I know that's three halves, but you deserve 150%.
There you go. I like that. Always on the optimistic.
Yeah, you get a little bonus bird,
That's right. So what got you into music?
Well, I've always been playing playing around with the piano, since I was tall enough to reach the keys of the piano that my parents had in the house, and nobody in the house really played piano. I don't even know where they got that piano from, but like my parents were musical. They liked to sing. My dad could play guitar. My mom played the auto harp. For those of you who are old enough to remember, instruments that nobody's seen since the 60s. I took 20 years or more of piano lessons, Rachmaninoff, Bach, that kind of stuff. And it getting later on in years, like junior high, high school, that kind of thing, wasn't really speaking to me, the concert piano thing. So I was torn between going into, this is like the late 90s, torn between going into computer science, like programming, because I'm a consummate nerd. I dress up as a bird on stage. If you couldn't figure out I'm a nerd by now, then you haven't been paying attention. But torn between going into computer science stuff, making video games, that sort of thing, or music. And I was kind of on the fence between the two. And two things happened. One, a video game that I was working on in junior high, I had not made backups, and something crashed in the middle of saving, and like weeks and weeks worth of effort just went away. And, it's entirely my fault for not having good backup procedure, but I was 12. I'm pretty sure you can forgive me for that. And I think in the same week, our choir director, a guy named Sean Wright, the procedure whenever we did a show was like after doing a concert, the next day in class was basically just do whatever, play cards, bring board games, do some studying, whatever, read a book, whatever you want to do. Basically just gave us the day off. This day, it was one of those days. He brought in a little box and he plugged his guitar into it. And he started playing the piano and the bird chirp and the helicopter noise and all those general MIDI sounds. It was just basically just like an early like pitch to MIDI converter, and he was controlling this little electronic sound box with his electric guitar, just to show us some cool, relatively new music technology. And all the other kids are like, oh, that's pretty neat. And meanwhile, I'm over there in the tenor section just... It's absolutely... I suppose this is sort of an audio show, too. I should explain what my facial expression was. My jaw hit the floor. Like, I was flabbergasted. And I asked him, because my parents had just got a digital piano, because they were sick of paying to have pianos tuned. Actually, they were probably sick of hearing me practicing, because there is no no more special level of hell than listening to a child learn how to play an instrument.
Oh, yeah.
So they got me something I could plug headphones into. But I asked my teacher, like, can I borrow this? Because I have a digital thing and it has the MIDI jacks on it. And he said, sure, just bring it back in a few days. Like, this is, a junior high choir teacher just letting one of his idiot students just take home this is like a $300 piece of hardware. Like, your phone has more power than this thing does now, but this thing was not a cheap piece of hardware. And it's like, yeah, take it. I trust you. Bring it back in a few days. And as soon as I started playing drums on my piano at home, I was sold. My life immediately took a downward spiral into actually getting a music degree and making it my career. So, I've never been the same since.
It's awesome. It's awesome when you find that calling, that purpose, and it like clicks.
Yeah, I mean, like, I always knew I was into making music, and I had been writing songs and stuff at the time, but it wasn't really like that. Like I said, like, I was torn between, making computer games or something like that and going into music, and that combination of technology and art, it scratches the left side of my brain and the right side of my brain at the same time. You get that nice, like, technological procedural programming stuff, and at the same time I'm making music as an art form. It's like it tickles the whole brain, and it's been tickling me ever since.
That's awesome. I want to touch on you mentioned that like many parents, I'm sure my parents were the same way, when you're practicing, how thrilled they are to have you.
Thrilled. That's a word. At least I didn't learn violin. Wait, so you said your parents are the same? Do you play an instrument?
I used to practice the piano, and I took violin in elementary school stuff.
Ooh, elementary school violin is the worst.
And so my dad would have to go help this person, or
yeah. I mean, they don't make like at the very least with a piano. Once the headphones are plugged in, a digital piano, once the headphones are plugged in, all you hear is the thumping of the keys, and like, okay, I can deal with that. But like, man, they made us learn how to play an instrument that was not our primary instrument when I was getting my music degree. And, I'm an adult at that point, 19, 20, 21, I forget what year this was in college, but they made us, just pick an instrument. Like, here you go. Here's the orchestra pit, pick something. And I think I went for the viola, and it sounded like I was doing terrible, unspeakable things to an alley cat for an entire semester. I can't fathom being like an 8-year-old, or sorry, having an 8-year-old. And at the same time, they're trying to just learn like coordination, basic coordination, like don't fall over.
Yeah.
Having to actually like listen to them practicing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star over and over and over and over and over and over again. Oh goodness.
Yeah, exactly. So now that being a parent myself, I'm like, how did you do it? How are you still alive, kind of thing.
Parents ask me this all the time. When I talk to them, they're like, I want my child to learn a musical instrument. What would you recommend? And I tell them, start with the piano. Not just because I'm biased, because I'm a piano player, but because like you can plug in headphones, and also if they ever do get serious, I don't want to say the piano is like the default instrument, but if you meet somebody who's a professional musician, chances are they play their instrument and also piano. Like in college, you had to take a piano proficiency class, unless you were a piano player, because you could just breeze right through that. Like they make everybody learn how to have a basic competency at piano. So I usually recommend parents go for the piano, but largely so that the parents don't get tired of it, and and maybe the kid will have a chance of actually getting better.
How was it when like with your parents and stuff, and you're sitting on the edge, and you're not sure exactly what side of the fence you wanted to go on? How was it going through that and developing that not quitting and pushing through and to become where you are now?
Uh, I wish I could articulate that. Like it's difficult. Like, I mean, once you get to a certain age and having been doing music for so long, you realize that like I'm not really good at anything else. So it might just be a lack of other options in my life. I don't know. Which I know that's not true, but the you know like I it's difficult to say because it ebbs and flows like all art forms. Like some days some days it's a chore, some days you're going through the motions, some days you're just making procedurally generated something just to make the art happen, and it feels uninspired and forced. And then some days there's that spark, and I really couldn't tell you what buoys me from spark to spark to keep me going. If I could explain that, I would probably be selling books and making a fortune right now. You know.
There you go. Book coming out.
I mean, something. I imagine always being curious and always wanting to learn helps, because there's always something to learn in any art, any art that you're involved in. You know.
I love that, and because even if it's not like art, like painting or music or whatever, it's still an art.
Yeah.
And I love how you said that, because even people that have been in the profession for 60 years are still learning, and they're exploring and stuff. And there's so many different branches and niches they can go into.
Oh yeah. I mean, just within the like, I got into dance music because I had sort of lost that spark, and the way that I describe it in my bio is that like the birds found me and as a broken man and reassembled me again. What really it was, I had finally rediscovered what got me into music in the first place, which was that marriage of technology and art. I had been doing piano rock for, like the Ben Folds kind of thing for like 15 years. And it was just, it had just become passionless for me. Like I sit there in front of the dreaded blank page that every writer and every artist has to face every time they start something new. Like I would sit there in front of an empty, recording session and have absolutely no clue what to do with myself. But getting into dance music, which is, electronic music, which is heavily technologically based. It's a lot of sound design. You're making your own instruments in many cases. Like it's as much an exploration of the technology and plugins and wave shaping and all this cool sound design stuff as it is composition and lyric writing. And so I had so much like all this uneaten grass that I could go graze on at that point, like areas that I had not yet even considered exploring. And I've become a much better engineer and producer, and I think even songwriter, because of the greener pastures that I had jumped to.
Something that was said but not spoken just there is that no matter, and everybody knows this, no matter what industry, there's always going to be that lull, that slum, and how important but how awesome at the same time it is that you can find those different areas. You don't always have to do this exact thing. You can branch over here a little bit, then kind of feed back and forth to each other and keep that passion, that fire burning, like you said.
Yeah. And this is why, like in civilized nations, they give you they actually schedule in room for like a hiatus or a sabbatical. Like somewhere when you start to get into your 40s, a lot of people in countries with decent labor markets anyway, will be able to just go on like a spirit quest for a bit and come back. Like take up some other hobby or learn some other skill or try and rekindle that passion on their own. Like it's natural to have an ebb and flow to your career and your passions, especially once you turn those passions into a business, because that's usually the number one passion killer right there. I used to live with a guy who is an amazing chef. Like he can improvise in the kitchen the way I can improvise on the piano. Like I can follow a recipe. I'm a good cook. This guy's a chef, and you can basically say like, okay, we got some chicken breasts, and here's what's in the cabinetry, and he will concoct something from scratch that is like a 5-star meal. And I'm like, why are you still working this day job instead of opening a restaurant? And his response was, because I still want to enjoy cooking. Like, I can get behind that. Turning something into a business might actually kill your love for it if you're not careful. And it's come very close with me and a lot of other musicians I know frequently,
Oh yeah, absolutely. I see that quite a bit all the time too. In lots of industries and stuff. You have a show yourself, Early Bird Breakfast.
Yes.
You mentioned that in the email.
Yeah, the whole point of the Dread No Mondays thing here. I actually have 3 shows because I need more complexity in my week. So I've been, most people understand that like DJs, musicians and whatnot, in the last year and a half, they've all had to migrate to streaming concerts because of the plague. And in my case, I've been streaming since 2007, when Brad Hunstable over at Ustream and I met at the New Media Expo down in Ontario, California. And he made me like one of the featured streamers at a time when nobody was doing that. Nobody was streaming. Like the very concept of being live on the internet, just like, at 30 frames a second in this little bitty window, granted, but like nobody was doing that. This was brand new technology in 2007. And I basically started doing little, concerts from like my bedroom studio, and then eventually my living room studio, and then my actual studio, and then the coffee bunker. And now I have the crate, which is behind me here. Wow, that's a long time now. What, like 14 years. Most of those are evening shows because that's when, people tune in, whatnot. But I realized since I've been self-unemployed since 2007. So one of the traps that you can fall into when you are self-employed, especially as an artist, is not having any kind of a schedule, which sounds liberating, sounds free and glorious and wonderful. It is, but it's so easy to hit the snooze button a lot because you don't have to be at an office. You don't have a boss to answer to. Like, I can just start my day later and work later. And then you find yourself getting out of bed at 10, 10:30, 11 a.m., working till 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, at some point, you become a troll, and all of your friends are daywalkers. Like all of your normal friends who have day jobs, you just don't see them anymore because you are working when they have their time off. My boyfriend works a normal 9 to 5. Sorry, my fiance. I get to say that now. My fiance works a normal 9 to 5 job. So trying to line up with that, especially after so many years of just getting up, with no alarm clock whenever I feel like it, it's rough. And I found that it also feeds a depression. It's like a self-dooming cycle, I guess. I'm not sure. Like, it's a detrimental cycle, a vicious cycle. That's the word I'm looking for. You get up later, and yet you also want to be social with your friends who have normal jobs. So the time that you allot for actually working gets shorter and shorter and shorter. Like, why am I not getting anything done? Why am I not getting anything done? How is it Friday already? You say dread no Mondays. I dread Fridays. Like, holy crap, how did an entire week go by? Is it not February anymore? Like, that starts happening pretty quickly. So one of the things that I decided to do upon moving here into this house that I'm in now was do an 8 a.m. DJ set. Now it's deep house. It's stuff that people can listen to during their workday. There's no talking or, like my evening shows, I'm doing shots. People are, shutting down my wings so that I have to DJ one-handed, busting out the keytar, doing live vocals, that kind of stuff. The 8 a.m. show is a little different. It's a little more sedate. It's a little more backgroundy while you're working your crappy accountant job, trying to just hold it together to not kill your boss by the end of the day, because it's Friday and you've had enough. And I've found that it's done wonders for me. I had dreaded doing this, and I don't know why I decided to make it 8 a.m. like downbeat at 8 a.m., which, like, for years I had not seen 8 a.m. Self-employed musician, like, the alarm clock is set for 8 a.m. maybe, like, on a good day. Usually I was getting out of bed at the crack of 10. So I did this as sort of a kick in my own butt to get myself, to jolt myself into something resembling a regular schedule. And it made me no longer loathe, first of all, it made me no longer loathe getting up early, because now that I do it every week, at the very least every week, not every day, I don't get up that early every day, but at the very least once a week, I know that I have to get out of bed for like a normal job schedule. And I've found that because not many people are doing a stream, a music stream, that early in the morning, a lot of people have come to me just like, thank you, this is exactly what I need. I put you on in background at work because it's not, interruptive. It's not in your face kind of music. It's deep house or organic house, very chill kind of stuff. And yet I can keep the chat on my phone while I'm working, and interact with you and with the other people watching, while I'm supposed to be working. And like a lot of people have told me, it's actually helped them make it through like push that little extra bit to make it through to the end of the week, and then the weekend arrives. Like it's been therapeutic for me and for apparently my audience. And I didn't expect that it would be as big of a help to them. Like I figured it would just be my excuse to try and kick my schedule back into something resembling normal human work week. But I guess that actually seems to be holding some other people together, especially in these COVID-ly times when there's not a whole lot of interpersonal interaction anyway. The people in my chat are always chatting with each other, whether or not I'm able to pay attention to it while I'm mixing. So it's sort of like a breakfast meeting, It's become rather nice.
That's awesome. Isn't it nice when people come up to you like that? Especially when you're thinking, excuse me. Like I know sometimes on my show here, I'm like, does anybody even watch this?
There's a lot of that.
But then all of a sudden, this is what I really needed to hear today, kind of thing. You're like, yeah, okay, that's right there.
This is, that makes up for the lamentable level of income you get as an indie musician. That's one of the two things that drives me, is getting feedback from people who have said, like, you have kept me from strangling my boss. I got an email after one of my albums came out, when I was still doing the piano rock thing, and somebody said I had Goodbye Planet Earth on as I was going under for my cancer surgery because it put me at peace. I'm like, you can't buy that kind of feedback. Like that just, I don't know what other industry you could work in and have that kind of effect on people. And it answers the question, why am I doing this? Why am I sitting alone in this windowless padded room making thumping noises day after day? And I'm not famous. I'm not touring the globe, like I'm not a household name like Daft Punk, but why am I doing this? That's why. Like getting that feedback from that, it's that feeds my soul in ways that that no amount of money can feed my stomach.
Absolutely. And it's part of the reason you started it was to kind of solve that problem of having a quote unquote kind of semi-normal schedule.
Yeah.
and stuff. So you kind of fulfilled that thing, but the bigger thing was what you were doing for the listeners of your show, and that just makes it a whole lot more worth it and stuff. And you're like, all right, I can get out of bed.
Most of the, yeah, exactly. Like that absolutely helps. Like knowing how much, especially having gotten feedback from some of my listeners and my fan, the invasion, I call them. Getting that feedback is enough to get me out of bed. The only time that I just decided, like, no, I'm not doing it was the day after my second COVID shot. And that was a wise decision. Because I was not getting out of bed for nobody that day. But I could take a day off for that, I think. They understood why.
Oh, yeah. They're like, you don't want me up today, trust me.
Yeah, no joke. It was rough.
Well, I want to shift a little bit, if you don't mind. You mentioned you love birds and your helmet and stuff. What kind of feedback did you first get out of that? And how did you, because I'm sure not all of it was pleasant.
Well, you'd say that, but like in the dance music world, there is some precedent already. See also Daft Punk, Deadmau5, Marshmello. They have these phenomenal helmets as well. Like there's actually a few dance music, like fairly well-known DJs and producers that have elaborate costuming. So it wasn't exactly that far out of the ballpark. The other thing is, because of my affinity for animals and for birds, and the way that I present myself now, a large portion of my my fan base is in the furry fandom. Are you familiar with the furries at all?
No.
Okay, so if you're familiar with like the sci-fi crowd or like the Star Trek convention crowd, basically the same class of nerds, but these people are into the Lion King or Pokemon or the Jurassic Park movies, whatever. Humanoid animal nerds. So, and I've played a lot of conventions, sci-fi conventions, steampunk conventions, comic conventions, gaming conventions, furry conventions, that kind of stuff. So those people tend to be a little more imaginative in the first place. So, I didn't really get any negative feedback, or even that sort of like, what the hell is this? I got a lot of very positive feedback. It helps that the piece itself. Actually, let me bring this up to the camera here. Yeah, I can do this. Trailing cables everywhere. So yeah, this is my adorable face here, and it is Garuda Workshops made this for me, and it is I would say a one of a kind, but I have a backup made because I know what touring is like. I know how touring can destroy things. But like in the music business, it is imperative that you have something to differentiate yourself from all the other artists out there. As a male singer-songwriter, there's not a whole lot going on. I'm just yet another dude on the piano trying to, sell music. But as part man, part robot, part bird, upon looking at me on stage, like, that's different. And once you have their attention, then you can draw them in with actual talent if you have it. And I hope to God I actually have it. But as I learned in many parent-teacher conferences over my childhood, I have an affinity for what we call attention-getting devices. And wearing a giant bird head on stage probably qualifies as an attention-getting device,
Absolutely. So I think that's awesome that you have the support there. But something that I noticed in what you said is, that you embrace kind of who you are. You love animals, you love birds and stuff, and you're not gonna like hide that or
oh Lord no,
shame that or something, because what if they don't like it, or it's not part of the in crowd kind of thing. it's who you are. So I like how you embrace that. So
It's definitely not for everyone, but I've found that, like, if you see a partially robotic bird wielding a keytar at a dance festival, most people are downright into that. They seem to go for it. And I've also noticed especially in the trance music and the progressive scene those are the dance genres that I associate with. There's a concept called plur, which is peace, love, unity, and respect, and that seems to be a driving force. It's not it's not all holding hands and singing kumbaya all the time. Obviously, like no human interaction is always like that. But the fact that the genres themselves seem to have latched onto this concept: peace, love, unity, and respect. When people see something different, when they're already in that sort of mindset and the music is putting them into that headspace, when they see something different, the reaction tends to be, that's interesting, instead of, get that freak away from me. So I've been blessed to be in a conducive environment as well to display my weirdities, as it were.
that's awesome. And that kind of thing, can be used across different genres, occupations, and stuff. Because, like you said, a male piano singer-songwriter, they're kind of a dime a dozen, sort of.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I'm in the financial industry myself, and you're a financial planner. You're one of those guys, kind of thing. So it's easy to get that pigeonhole cliche, but if you have that kind of that mutual respect going on, it makes it a lot easier. Whether you do business with them or you're whatever, or they're just friends, makes it easier to.
Now, again, like, knowing your environment is important. If you showed up, to a meeting with a client, dressed as a partially robotic osprey, it might not fit too well.
Exactly.
Who knows? You could give it a shot. We could try it.
But like you said, knowing your environments, but having that mutual respect for one another plays a big impact.
Oh yeah,
on having that, and it helps people also to know that they're not alone, and a lot of people had the struggles through the pandemic, and they don't want to wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and so they're not the only one, and there's a whole bunch of people they can, hey, how did you get past this, or what can you do about this, or blah 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 blah. So that's awesome.
Yeah, at the end of every single one of my shows, and on the shirts that I sell at avianinvasion.com/merch. See, sneak that plug in there real quick. At the end of every single one of my shows, and frequently throughout the shows, I reiterate what has basically become my mantra. It's 3 parts: you are alive, you are beautiful, and you are not alone. And I think that's important because, as I mentioned, like, I was feeling, like, as my interest in piano rock was waning and my engagement with the art started feeling just like it was just leaving me, draining out of me. It was like I was artistically bleeding to death. Sometimes you need a reminder: you are alive. Like, you still have time. You're not, unless you're dead, like, you have time to go in a different direction. You have time to fix something if it needs to be fixed. And no matter how numb you might feel at this particular moment, you are alive. And the second part, you are beautiful. Like, sure, you might have some parts that need to be fixed or touched up. You might have some things that you don't like about yourself. You have time to work on that, but you are beautiful, And the last part is, you are not alone. And especially during the pandemic, that that became something that I really had to stress over and over and over again, because a lot of people, I'm a social creature, but I'm also, like I said, I've been streaming since 2007, so I'm kind of used to interacting largely online with a lot of people all the time. I haven't felt that alone. I also have a fantastic fiance who is a joy to live with. We get along so well that we're eventually going to spend the rest of our lives together. So like I've been lucky in that respect, but I know I have some people who, now that they couldn't go to clubs, they can't go to festivals, they can't go to conventions anymore, they can't even eat out anymore. And wow, that took a massive hit on their psyche. The depression became evident just talking to them in text. Like, it's difficult to imagine how thick that cloud must be settling over them. But anything that I could do to reiterate, you are not alone. You are absolutely not alone. We are all in this together right now. There are people just like you going through what you're going through, and some of them have their hand on the edge of the cliff pulling upward, and they're taking you with them, but you got to hang on. It's been a rough year and a half, and I'm happy to see that people are getting vaccinated, and it might actually be over soon.
I love that, and to go along with You Are Not Alone, everybody has a story to share or a message to share. Yours is partly through your music, and whatever it is, somebody needs to hear that message.
Yeah.
Whatever that message is, whatever that talent is, you need to share that talent with others around you.
Yeah. Like I felt like I've not been diagnosed with clinical depression or anything like that, but as I was falling into that slump, the hole just kept feeling like it was getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And the rebirth, my rebirth as a progressive house artist, was transformative both for my career and for my general outlook. I'm a much happier person now because I'm engaged in ways that that I just wasn't previously. I'm stimulated by my art again, and like helping. I want to help spread that feeling as much as I possibly can, and the best way I know how is through music. But doing it on the streams day after day, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, doing it through the streams seems to have been pretty effective. There's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of people that have been feeling very isolated, and for a couple of hours every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, they feel like they're in a room with a bunch of friends for a bit. And I feel like I'm in a room with a bunch of friends. It's not like I'm doing a concert. It's more like I'm just hanging out with these people. And it has been as much a buoy to my psyche and my ability to weather this plague upon us as I hope it is to other people.
That's awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here. One more final question. If people wanted to learn your music and stuff, where can they find you? You did a plug a second ago, but now do the
It's pretty easy. If you just look up Avian Invasion, you'll find me anywhere. Spotify, Apple Music, of course you can go to avianinvasion.com as well. But yeah, you can find me anywhere you want to listen to music. And of course I do 3 shows a week. Monday and Wednesdays I do a progressive house and a trance show at 3 p.m. Pacific time. And again, Friday morning with a big old carafe of coffee. And unfortunately, when I am the bird, you can't see the bags under my eyes because I've just got the one big view portal. But 8 a.m. Monday mornings Pacific time, I do the deep house early bird breakfast, and all of that is at avianinvasion.com/live. And if you do happen to drop into the chat room, say hi and let me know that you came from the Dread No Mondays show, because I'm always interested to see where people are coming from.
Yeah, it's awesome where we find connections and get introduced to different people.
Yeah.
And that's one of the, going back to those fulfillment things, you know, that's one of my favorite things about doing the show is the connections that I make and people that you meet. And, oh, hey, let me introduce you to. So I love it. And we'll drop that website in the comments with this. So I go check it out. And
I appreciate it.
Thank you for taking the time to be here. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And please reach out. Let us know how we can help you. Dreadnought Mondays.